Paroh, Paroh, Paroh. We back. Thank you for tuning. Real quick. So I made the video earlier, content engagement rate versus engagement rate, right? So I'm coming back with a part 2. I'm kind of like experimenting on developing the best content for you guys out there. And also there's another element that I want to share with you now. That video got to about 18 minutes. It was a little bit longer than what I initially was thinking. So on this one, I'm going to key in on a few points. I've actually chopped that video up. It's down to about 9 minutes and some change now. I'm going to play it here, and we're going to go over a couple of key points. And that way, I think we'll get the max ROI in time when people watch this output. Okay. So let's bring up that video. Let's cue that up. And let's let that play for a minute here. It's widely accepted in the industry that 0.5% to 1% is considered good content engagement. And by all means, if you have a small business, or if you're an artist, musician, or a public speaker, or a coach, or whatever, hit me up. Let's talk about how we can build your awareness campaign as well. So what it is that total content engagement is going to be the measurement of, as you can see in this video, as you can see in this image, it'll be the measurement of your total reach compared to your total engagement, right? So in this one, it's really simple, very niche down, very precise. I knew I'm going after a very precise target on this one, and I dialed everything in. And long story short, with all the details, that's how you achieve 29%. So the industry. So with that right there, the statement I'm making is that if you look at that chart or graphic that I have there, it's speaking about the relationship between what most marketers call or refer to when they say engagement rate. They're talking about the total reach compared to what's actually the initial level of post engagement, right? Because it's counting everything. Basically, watch the other video in the full 18 minutes. It'll break it all the way down for you with the definitions and the difference. Now, what I could add to this is that that's just displaying in that graphic just the relationship between the post engagement and the post reach. If I went into the analytics on that to show you, like, I'm comparing it, what I'm speaking about on the actual regular simplified content engagement, that 30 engagement on that post, which equated to 29%, the simplified engagement on that particular post would have been like 100%, because of the 30 people that came in, 30 of them actually had emotional reactions on the post. So it's 29% for that particular one. For the people who may have questions, that particular post had 29% total engagement rate when compared to the reach to the actual post engagement. And then from the post engagement to the reaction rate would have been like 100%, which is what you're going to hear me talk about later on in the video when we're talking about for the international one with the language difference. I'm really excited for it to be at 55% right now. Okay. So let's continue. Has advised that good content engagement can be 0.5% to 1% on average. And depending on your source, they may have expanded it out up to, 3-5%, something like that, right? But as long as you're in between 0.5% and let's say 3%, you're good. You're in the category of good, right? All right. So when you see a number like 29%, it's phenomenal. During this post, It's part of a 4-month campaign. It's the first one, but it's international and there's a language difference. So for me, I use this as a language difference case study. So I was willing to sacrifice the super high content engagement rate to validate that the message was actually getting across in a secondary or what maybe even a third actual language on their tier, right? So I started off in the beginning making a lot of adjustments, dialing in from the bottom up instead of, a top down type, come in high and tweak to prevent any fall off, because it could have, we're dealing with different cultures. I don't know if I'm making sense to you guys on why I'm so, Virgos are pretty cautious. We're so cautious that we appear suspicious sometimes. But that's, for my mind, it was worth coming in low and then dialing up, because, let's say I get like 2% on this one as total content engagement. The next 11 weeks of posts, I can still balance that out to whatever, you know what I'm saying? Now, keep in mind also here, for those who like to know budget information, right? We're achieving this with the relative cost, after the cost of production, like any other advertisement / promotional campaign. There's the cost of production, then there's the actual ad spend dollars, like the cost per ad. So we're achieving these numbers here internationally for about less than 1/3 of the cost of one printed business card, each one of these people. So when you start to think about, your other options, this is why people find great value with Pasha Paroh, because one, the cost of the business card is 7 to 20 cents each. But the added cost is the time it takes you to be somewhere, get there, total expense for travel, be there, get there, meet them, put the card in hand. It's priceless. So you're getting priceless value for 1 to 2 cents per new contact that you would have met, like in passing on the street or at an event, while you're still maximizing time in your day. So your time is your value. Your time is your biggest worth, and I'm able to save that for you for pennies on the individual that you can collect with this. Let's continue. 25% for the total campaign. So I'm not really concerned about that. But if I come in too high and it misses everybody, it's going to be a bad look, and then things aren't as good as they could be. So this approach I took is I'd rather build on top of what's there than to crash out the sky. Make sense? Okay. So as you can see, we come in here. I did a couple of reports, but what I was doing is I was focusing on this other metric that most people aren't talking about, right? And that is just what I would call simplified engagement rate. Total content engagement rate is going to be simply the total post reach, right? So however many people your post actually reaches. So if you do a boost on Facebook, and I know I appreciate you on the free high value here. So if you do a boost on Facebook, shout out to Hassan in the building. So if you do a boost on Facebook and you reach 1,000 people, let's say in this case it was a little over 100, that's your total reach. So think of that like the billboard. Your post is a billboard on I-95, I-85, whatever that major highway is, artery, I-77. So look at it like the billboard doesn't go anywhere, right? It's gonna be planted there. Now, if you count all of the cars that go by, how many people stopped to look up at it. Okay, right? So if 100 cars go by, and of the 100 cars that go by, 30 of them had someone in the car look up at the billboard. Now they're counting that as engagement. As broad as that is, like they just looked up, they saw it going by 75 miles an hour. They don't know what they saw, how they saw, nothing more than that. They just know they saw it. Okay, so you had to reach, which means they went past it in some way, shape, or form. The car on the highway, the car on the road, they went past it. So that billboard reached them. That ad reached, that post reached that person as an audience member of traffic flying by. Did they look or not? That's the first question. Okay. So your total content engagement is going to basically tell you if they saw it. Now, how many things did you see today that you know you saw, but you really couldn't say shit about what you saw, right? Because you saw it in passing, or you saw it and you didn't give a fuck about it. You saw it and you said, fuck that shit. You saw it, right? There's a whole bunch of ways you can see something and it's still not mean nothing to you. So your total content engagement is really a mixture of all of that slurry of potential, right? So the cars going by on the highway, right? 100 cars go by, 30 of them look up, and that's all you know, they saw it. Okay, so that's total content engagement. What we've been chasing, a lot of people have been chasing, is that metric there, right? Just want to show you that somebody saw it. But so that's great if you know what you're doing. Now here's where the strategy comes into play, right? Because the strategy difference in this case is going to be, all right, if you looked at the first one, right, you'll see that it was a little over 100 people, because I really dialed down and was focused on a precise, it's a financial, that one was based on a financial platform business, right? So I was really dialed in on who I was targeting and why. So that's why the number was so small, because it's a very small niche of people that we're targeting. Here's the difference. The value is not in the person that can just click buttons. See, people don't come to me because they just want buttons pushed. I'm a critical solutions expert. They come to me because they want solutions. You come to me because you want solutions. The difference is you got to have the strategy right. So in this case, the strategy produced a very high total engagement rate because the niche of people was so small that we were actually going after, that it was only like a little over 100 people total. So when you have 30 plus engagements that actually create 30 plus the same number of reactions, now the simplified engagement would be 100% or very close to it there. But the total engagement rate is so high, partly because the precision needed for that niche that we were after created such a small number of total reach relative then to the number of people who actually engage with it, and then the reaction basically was the same number of people. Versus in a different campaign like this one I'm doing in another country, it's not to say that it's not that specialized of a niche, but the actual dynamics of this application is so different, because we're dealing with international, we're dealing with the language barrier, we're dealing with not something that people are used to. We're introducing a totally new concept, a totally new venue and opportunity. So all of this has to go into play as part of why there may be disconnects, versus when you're looking for someone to just target for a financial campaign, you know exactly who you're going after and they know exactly what they want. So when they see each other, it's an easy marriage. All right. It's kind of like saying this. If you're a one that does content management, this is what you gotta look at it like. If your client is e-commerce and they just want to let people know they're selling this new Nike sneaker, well, Nike's already an established brand. That particular product, there's already a certain group of people who know they want that particular sneaker. All you got to do is put that sneaker in front of the right person. Easy marriage. They're going to like it and engage with the post. And then you got really easy like scenario to generate really high numbers of engagement if you know what you're doing. Versus if you're introducing Nike as a brand for the very first time to the general population who's never seen them in such a light before, and then you're telling them about this particular product from Nike, you realize that's a totally different set of dynamics, and it's a much more challenging puzzle. But I like puzzles. So that's why you get, and let's say the application in the example in the beginning where we're talking about 29% total engagement rate. And then if I displayed it, that engagement number matched the reaction number on the post. So you could say that was 100% simplified engagement rate. So that's why you get such a high number there. You're dealing with something that's easy. Well, it's not easy, but for people like us, it's we make it look easy. But the point of the matter is, this is why people come to us, because on that side, it's established already. The product, the idea, the concept, the brand, and all we got to do is connect them with the right people who's looking for their service or product. On this one, we're building everything from scratch. So to have it's currently 1.75 earlier today % engagement rate after I did the language tweaking, like I mentioned in the full video. Go check that out. Combined with over 50% simplified engagement, I'm really excited about that, because we're overcoming language barriers. We're introducing a new idea and a concept. We're telling them we're looking to build this into something in the future. Like, all this is amazing because we're using this post to help in the manifestation process, and the population is responding at more than a 1 out of 2 engagement rate. So in another country where English is like the third language on a tier, it's not the primary language, and the post is in English. So really strong performance, if you ask me. Let's finish this out this last couple of minutes, and I'll get you guys up out of here. I appreciate your time. What does that mean in the grand scheme of things in the long run, right? That's the question. So total is the metric that calculates the sum of reactions, comments, shares divided by the total number of posts published and then adjusted for each, is the technical equation format. But that can be misleading. So the formula for total engagement is, like we said, reactions plus comments plus shares divided by the number of posts divided by the total reach times 100 to give you it in a percentage form. Or if you already know that as percent, you can just leave it in the 0 point, right? So that method actually dilutes the actual significance of the post performance in many ways. So it's not accurately reflecting how well the content resonates with your audiences. So in contrast, what I'm looking at in this case, because like I said, it's my first international one. So this is not targeting the United States. This is targeting externally, and then the United States is just like a backup subsidiary bonus for contribution purposes on certain topics within the campaign. All right. So for me, that's why I'm looking at this one today, which is going to be the measurement of, let me show you, and it's really simple. So if you look here, I'm just taking the total number of engagements. Now remember, the engagements is the people that looked up, right? When the car went by, they saw it. So that's an engagement. But of those people that looked up, how many of them had an emotional reaction? That's where the money is. All right. So what I'm doing here is it's the measurement of the reactions, right? Here, and let's say here is 2 days, when compared to the total number of what they're gonna call engagements. So it looks like this. If you're selling something, right? 500 people walk past your store today, but only 30 of them come in. So you don't base your close rate when you're doing the math. You don't look at your close rate as, 500 people walk by the store. You really want to focus on, okay, of the 30 that came inside and talked to me about, whatever it is that you're selling, how many of those 30 did you impact to the point where they wanted to buy, or they had some emotional attachment to see what you had to say next. You know what I mean? All right. So that's it. That's the full scope of it with the extra detail. Like I said, check out the other video for any little particles that weren't included in this one. I just wanted to give you the maximized value in a small doses of time, whether you're looking to get into content management yourself, whether you're looking to have someone perform content management for you on Facebook. This should be a high value video for you to get an understanding of what, when, where, and why, and the value difference between someone who can just push buttons and look at numbers, and someone who can actually develop a strategy for you and actually put you in position based on the goals and the business need that you have. I'm Pasha Paroh. Thank you.